the mansion of the flower fields. They are a notable people that live in Snamfi. Finding directions to their house isn't going to be terribly difficult to do, since they are, public figures and they run a very, very successful industry. They're one of the top families here in Mesomasca themselves. They just run a very quaint countryside business. Well, I'm glad my cat is enjoying the leftovers of the mac and cheese here. Um, and yeah, Bobicus, he will, if he survives this, he will be a very eligible bachelor in maybe like 6, 7 years, maybe something like that. Roxy, I'm gonna rest my eyes. I may fall asleep, but I'll be listening. All right, Roxy. Well, I hope you've been having fun so far, and that you're enjoying it, and you're getting even more excited for getting into the hobby. All right, so um, through through thises and that's, you are going to find yourselves outside of what looks like a small palace. I mean, this is very much a mansion, and you can see that there, off to the side, are these glass houses that exist, and there are just rows and rows. Like the garden leading up to this place is amazing. There are all kinds of presumable servants that are pruning and plucking, and they're going around in overalls. It's very clear that they work outside. A mix of tieflings and humans alike. Um, and there's a couple people who are coming and going, and those who are seem to be dressed in black.
Who's there first?
Oh, it's probably because of the funeral. We just heard that the father died. Well, I mean, if it's because of the father who died while we were all on the ship, then that would make sense. They're the same person.
Mm.
So they're probably just having the memorial service now. We had to invite people from all over because he was important.
I wasn't aware of that. Or at least, was I aware of that?
Because you weren't with us on the boat. I completely forgot. Yeah. So Tibba's father died while we were on the Lillywell Gambit. He got killed by some slime creatures. It was really a bummer.
Thanks.
And yeah, and now here we are. They're having a funeral.
Here we are. And yet another funeral.
Yeah, there seem to be a lot of those in Mesomasca.
Okay, so approach, stay, observe.
Is it just me and Brett here right now?
No, along the way, because they don't live like right in the middle of town. You all would have to go a bit out of your way. So I think we can say that your paths would intertwine, especially because there is other traffic going to and from, and even those who would have got there first wouldn't have necessarily I don't know, for distractions, or we're busy, come back, or that kind of a thing. We can say that you will be together here.
So, I'm gonna have to put you away for just a couple of minutes, but I might need you to take some looks around when the time is right. Okay?
Rat up.
Okay, thank you. Poof. So I'm gonna go ahead and cast Disguise Self, just to create appropriate funeral attire.
Okay. All right.
I didn't bring any of my costumes with me, I don't think.
And I might darken the shade of my hair just a little bit.
Okay. So poof with a spell, and you're toning your hair down a little bit here. Let that said.
Mordecai is still brightly colored.
Okay.
Because he does not have a way to disguise himself instantly.
You do feel a little bit of like a magical pressure swirling around you, Bright, but nothing manifests.
Okay.
have to be careful about that.
Something could happen.
I mean, luckily, I don't need to get changed. I'm always dressed for a funeral.
Now, mind you, you do have Jade, who is appearing as if Tibba Flowerfield. Is this a good thing or a bad thing for you all?
I don't think that should be. That's appropriate. That's not appropriate at all.
I've felt that way basically ever since it happened the first time. But here especially, I mean, at best it would just like really confuse them and create all these problems, but at worst, they're going to be pretty hurt. So I think the trouble is it's hard to explain to Jade, like, how to turn the disguise off. I've never really had to ask her to do that before. Usually she just turns it off when she is done with it, but this time it's been on for a couple of days, and I don't know. And I haven't learned the spell to, like, dispel magic. I thought about it, but I didn't.
I don't know.
Well,
You could not take Tibba. You could throw a sheet over Tibba and go trick or treating. What would you like to do here then? Because this is an interesting player interaction here. What will you do with this hot potato?
well, I mean, I have a solution.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just so happened to prepare that this morning.
Oh.
I'm gonna look at Tibba and dispel magic.
Oh, so Celine knows how to do it.
Uh-oh.
Something's gonna happen.
Uh-oh. Alrighty.
Oh boy.
Yes.
All right, as you're preparing to enter the morning estate here, the flower fields, something is about to happen, and interestingly enough, on a spell of dispel magic, and that is going to be a 47. A unicorn controlled by the DM appears in a space within 5 feet of you, then disappears 1 minute later. Okay. So, Celine, you go to dispel Tibba from Jade. And instead, you turn Jade into a unicorn.
Wait, what?
I'm gonna go get my monster manual.
Hold on, I am currently actually very confused because I thought it just spawned a unicorn.
Well,
It's controlled by
you
the
know,
It's called GM choice.
is that you never are completely sure exactly what it's going to do. I think this is really funny. This is a big improvement on Jada's Tibba, and it's kind of an improvement on just Jade in general. I think she should stay like this. It's really funny.
I'm gonna
But
pet Jade.
we're not going
Oh,
to.
okay, Jade is a unicorn now.
For a minute.
I mean, to be fair, Summon Celestial is a 7th level spell, so, you know, and Polymorph is a 4th level spell, so you know what, I'll take it!
Yeah. It's kind of a weird result, but I think it's really fun. I wish my spells made wild magic. But the kind
Cast
of
them
magic
enough.
humans are able to do.
Cast them enough here, then you might run into something cool.
Well, I mean, at least Jade will be able to understand us, because I know unicorns can actually speak.
Do you want the
Or if
unicorn
not-
to follow you then to the front door of the Flowerfields mansion?
Well, you know,
Maybe
the
we
thing
should
about
wait it out.
these wild magic is that sometimes they don't last for very long. So maybe we can wait it out, or maybe there's something that she can do now that she's a unicorn. Maybe I don't know what, but there's lots of flowers and plants and things around here, so maybe something fun will happen.
I don't know. I suppose my question still stands from earlier: is what Jade's play with that was, if she can still talk.
I think she'll be able to talk to you for a minute.
You can ask her questions and she can hit her hooves on the ground to answer.
She does speak several languages. Yeah, she can speak.
Celestial, Elvish, Sylvan, and she has telepathy for 60 feet. She's pretty based.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
And I could speak both Celestial and Elvish. So
Yeah.
I only know.
Celine is going to turn. Celine is going to turn to Jade.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to say, in Celestial, "Are you okay in there, Jade?"
Are you still with us, Derek, or are you?
You have full control over the character. Go nuts. This ain't my call. This is yours. Matty, for a minute, you have a unicorn that has Jade's mind.
I guess that's both in and out of character. What do I do with a gulak that's a unicorn? To answer your question, then, using the telepathy powers that the unicorn possesses, you receive a reply directly, and in so doing, it's like the horn almost seems to soften, and it reaches out to kind of like boop on your forehead, and just for a moment you get like flashes of all kinds of images and just a Willy Wonka boat ride of colors and atrocities, and that's your reply.
I'm gonna take that as an okay as I can be.
Jade, the last unicorn, seems happy and healthy, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, nice and groomed.
Are we just gonna wait for the unicorn to wear off? I mean, it only lasts a minute.
I don't know. I can't.
I don't think going in there with a unicorn is a good idea. I mean, unless Jade would let you ride her in there. I mean, an angel of death on a unicorn?
That seems a little too majestic for the occasion.
Yeah. I mean, it is a funeral.
Really impressive, except then she would turn back into a person, and it would be kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just wait for the wild magic to wear off.
It seems like there ought to be something that she can do that's cool now that she's a unicorn. I just don't know what.
In a quite literal flash, all of you disappear and blink out. I mean, almost as if you are just blinking. Mordecai, I mean, it's a little different for you, because you have to kind of manually blink. But for the rest of you who still reflexively blink or just sort of do it, you do it on the down low off to the side. You all appear at the front door of the mansion, standing around this unicorn, and the unicorn says, "Mommy, I'm home."
Oh God! Unicorn Tibba! No! Oh no!
I mean, you may have dispelled the look, but I mean, Jade was in the zone mentally.
Abort. Abort.
and everyone, like the servants and everyone are just standing there as a unicorn manifests with 4 people around it, just shouting, "Mummy, I'm home!"
Let's go.
And yay, I'm home! And it starts running into the mansion.
I couldn't be more pleased with this result.
I hope that wears off soon. I go
Are you
chasing
sure about that?
I go chasing. She's gotta be stopped.
Okay. So Mordecai goes chasing in after the unicorn, very gleefully exclaiming that it's home. Norelai, Celine, Bright, you have several stunned servants who are just kind of standing around. People, you may not be able to see their faces really behind like the black veils of mourning, because we're in a funeral period in a mourning time right now, but just there's probably a couple chins that are like about a foot below where they probably should be, just behind the veils here.
I'm gonna go after Uni Jade.
Okay.
I was babysitting, and all I want to
Sure.
So, I'm gonna phone up to the servants.
Okay.
To see. I mean, there's probably in a house this big. There's certainly going to be a butler.
Yes.
So, and the butler might be more of an administrator than someone who actually answers the door. But there should be relatively formal who's going to be addressing us soon. So I'm going to wait for them.
Okay. And Celine.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna follow Bright and keep that other dispel magic in my pocket.
Okay. Alrighty.
So we turned Jade into a unicorn.
It's
So
the best day ever.
yeah, it's just some people want to see the world turn into unicorns. Yes. I mean, we're gonna have to wind things up here shortly, due to the time change and getting things set in between. So the 3 of you go after the unicorn Jade, and you stay behind Bright, looking for the butler, who does show up very, very, very quickly. He is a middle-aged human. He has a bit of a gray swirl, almost like a little dollop of cream or something. He has a little gray swirl of hair atop his chestnut, or a little swirl of gray atop his chestnut hair. Rather fair skin, and he has a matching mustache. He's average proportions, average height, average build. But he's wearing a very dark butler outfit. And he comes up to you and he is just putting away a handkerchief that he was kind of taking from his forehead. And he is maintaining the stiff upper lip. His posture is right on. And he looks down at you. He doesn't squat down and go, "Oh, who's a cute little gnome," or anything like that. He simply looks down at you, makes proper eye contact. "And who might you be, ma'am?"
Hi, my name is Triddle, although you can call me Bright, and I wanted to tell you that I have come here with some of my friends, and we met Mr. Flowerfield shortly before his death, and we also have had Tibba, and I wanted to come and offer our services to the family, and also to apologize in advance for my friends, because they're insane.
That perhaps then answers my hypothetical. I was going to ask, should I inquire of you if those who are running rampant through the mansion are affiliated with you? In theory, then, you would answer...
If you mean the unicorn and the 3 brightly colored people, except for the one who's brightly dark, then yeah, those are my friends. I'm sorry.
I see. Well then, I believe that I must escort you further into the mansion so that you can speak with Ripple Flowerfield, as I believe that you will be able to answer any questions that he'll have, given the... And you just hear, like, come back here, and, like, something crashing off in the distance. The unique circumstances that are now occurring inside our mansion during this period of mourning. And he is being the consummate butler. He is excruciatingly polite, and that politeness is also, I mean, it's the weapon that's cutting here, as he is very upset. I mean, just like there's an ultrasonic quiver in his mustache that is just sort of like emanating, while the rest of him is remaining very calm and collected, as if, you know, this happens every day. And as he escorts you further into the mansion, he is even so polite as to ask if you would care for an appetizer, some sort of hors d'oeuvre or a drink.
Thank you for offering. If it's convenient, I would take a glass of water, but don't feel the need to put yourself out.
I will ensure that you receive a cup of water. You are the guest here in our home, and you will be treated civilly.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, it's just like his mustache is twitching. And he sits you down in a very lavish parlor. In fact, as you're making your way through the house, you can see that this place has spared no expense. Things are gilded. Things are made of carved stone that just is not native to Mesomasca here. There is not just glass, but stained glass. The wood, actually bright, you would recognize that a lot of the polished wood in the floor are very rare jungle trees from Uct, which is where Stackadol, right? Stackadol is.
Yeah.
And there are plants and flowers all throughout, in vases, to be fancy sounding, in vases, as well as portrayed in the windows and the statuaries and the little, the people everywhere here. And you are sat down, Bright. You are given a cup of water. It's a very fine cup. And the butler says, I am Orchid Overfield, and should you have need of my services, you have naught but to call. And he points to like a golden rope that's hanging down, and he says, one moment, and he takes a knot that was tied in the middle of the rope and unties it, and so the knot was kind of holding the rope up further. At your convenience, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Should I just remain here and wait for my audience with... who did you say I would be meeting with?
Ripple Flowerfield.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. I'll wait here for Ripple.
Please and thank you. I now need to attend to several extra chores. And he gives you a smile and a very curt bow. He turns on heel very professionally and
give him a curtsy. If I can do one.
Yeah, he'll accept a curtsy. And he'll make his way out.
I'm not very good at that. It's an awkward curtsy, but I don't think I fall down.
Kind of, or like, I don't know, like one of your pigtails kind of like gets in your mouth a little bit as you're curtsying, and
Okay.
And so I believe that this will be our point where we will have Bright sitting in a den of sort of like a parlor of sorts, sipping on some water, and the others are going to have to be corralled by the help, and we'll have to see what happens as you'll be introduced to the lead maid of the mansion, who is a tiefling who perhaps isn't going to be as gentle as Mr. Overfield is.
Yeah, well, I mean, all the help we're going to hear as we're chasing Unijade through the halls is Celine running after her and screaming all kinds of obscenities.
Oh dear.
So, are you actually running through the halls? I thought it would just be like on the grounds.
No, Tibba ran inside. He's home.
No, in the halls.
Okay.
It's like running through the halls. Rules. We just bleeping damn it, Jade.
Okay.
Yep, just shouting oaths to the goddess of death in the middle of a mourning estate, and Oh snap! Hey, Journeyman, thank you. Well, you all might be held up in ad limbo right now, but I will. I'm getting the notification. Thank you very much for that host. And Octogram. Whoop. Something happened. Oh, the bot probably zapped you on that. Oh, did you Dark? Oh, that's the what that is, if you can unban him. I know this isn't common knowledge here. That is Merlin's charm of making. That was Octogram was talking about here.
No, he posted it twice, so I thought it was spam.
Okay. Well, I know I can understand that there wasn't a lot of context there.
It was just a timeout. It wasn't.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Octogram, but your charm was just so good that you summoned the magical protective wards on our channel. Too many tumbleweeds, an electric monk, and Journeyman himself. Hello. I hope that your illustrations have been going well. And thank you for the raid. You all came in at just an interesting time while we are getting the RP of the scenario wound down. As Lethality here playing Celine needs to take off. We just had a bit of an interesting wild magic event where one of our players turned into a unicorn and teleported everyone into the front entrance of an estate, a very large, important, rich, powerful family here in the area who's going through a period of mourning, and the unicorn, who thinks that it's the son of the bereaved family, teleported everyone to the front door of the estate and started saying, "Mommy, I'm home," and just sort of running in amok hither and thither through the halls of this place, causing a bit of a mess, leaving Bright to have been civilly escorted to a den to be put on a very polite and well-served timeout herself by giving, you've been given some water and even a nice little rope to pull if you do need service. But at least you're being held aside while the head maid and others are trying to corral a very giddy unicorn.
Yes, I'm sorry, Derek. I didn't mean to turn you into a unicorn. I promise.
With a dispel magic at that. I didn't mean to fundamentally alter your DNA and very magical signature by casting dispel magic on you.
No, I gotta run. Thank you guys for the game. It was amazing as always.
Yep.
And I hope to see you guys next week.
Is Gathering of Nerds broadcasting in a little bit?
Yes, they will be. They'll be broadcasting in about an hour.
Okay. All right, sir. Thank you.
And I'll let you know when that happens.
Volvo says, marvelous game. Hey, creative creature Carla. Awoo! Mr. Willow, hello to you. Yeah, so you all came in at a very interesting time because, you know what? This happens. And this little chart here is called Wild Magic. If you're not familiar with D&D, This is something that sorcerers can have happen. And look, it's something that can happen out in the wilds for who knows how many reasons.
It can happen to me, but it hasn't.
That's true. Well, you haven't cast a lot of spells yet. That would that would have.
I think it would double her chances.
It possibly to double, but if you've been casting in a wild magic zone as well, I've just sort of looped that in because doubling that sounds kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
and I don't want to accidentally deck of many things you all by having like a double redundant chaos sorcerer, sort of
No. Let's not TPK the party.
Oh, but wouldn't that be so much fun?
No! I've already been dead!
And so yes, these are the risks and rewards that are offered for some interesting look.
Two of you would get up from it, so.
Aside from that, we have a very cohesive story that is going places. This was an investigation episode. This is putting clues together and making some forward story progress.
Yeah.
Don't goblins also get access to the wild magic table? Asked DJ Fate. If I said DJ, I meant TJ Fate. It comes with this brand of sorcerer, so anyone can that has the wild magic flowing through them.
Yep.
And of course, if you're a sorcerer, think of it this way. So we have Fluffy Sheep who's playing Bright, and so she's a wizard, and so she learns magic quite literally by rote. She casts it formulaically out of a book. It is very textbook, and she casts a spell, and a casts a spell, and a casts a spell. Sorcerers, if you don't know, are like mutants, like X-Men. The magic is just something that's inherent to them. Yeah, it's like breathing or just like, you have a particular flavor you enjoy. And I mean, that flavor can change over time, but it's just a part of you that you extend out. And so you can manipulate your spells in ways wizards can't, but you lose some breadth because you go a bit deeper on a more selected spell list because it's intrinsic to you, which is also why, hey, you cast off of charisma. Hey, it's a projection of yourself. I have this vague memory, says TJ, that any goblin who casts a spell get access to the wild magic table innately. If so, I haven't experienced that offhand, TJ. Yeah, maybe third or fourth, or it could have just been a cool random effect, right? Goblins, what do they know? They're casting magic, but they don't quite understand the forces they use, and bada bing, bada boom, hey, forget about it. You get wild magic with some goblins. It'd be a fun thing to put up as like a cultural effect or whatnot in your own homebrew wizard or a world, I should say. If not just with goblins, then anyone can practice magic, but there's reasons why doing so could be dangerous. If you want to introduce, like, I don't know if this would work in your world, Coffee Cat, but if people have to sort of like register magic powers because it could go off like this, and they could cause all these accidents. And so in your kind of like steampunky, like 1800s sort of world, to have, so many people with possible access to this as a resource, and it's not controlled. And so there might be registries or other things if you're kind of making a Dickinsonian style, city of industry and magic and a fusion of both.
Yeah, in my world, the use of magic is highly restricted, and lethal magic is outright outlawed.
Mm. And how is that enforced? I mean, how would an average rookie cop on the street look at someone who just cast a fireball and be able to take them down or subdue them or something?
Being a wizard is completely like nobody can learn magic. Not your common person, because there is a tier system of like social status. only like the elite have access to that, and even then, it's limited to things like lights and mending and things of that sort.
Ah.
Anything that does damage is illegal because you're obviously going to be casting that on a person for the most part, and that's the same as firing a weapon.
Gotcha.
So weapon magics are outlawed. My Wizlock in that game went to jail because he inadvertently cast something.
Inadvertently? How did that occur?
Well, like he was running for his life in the past, and he was obviously using magic to try and evade the police, and ended up getting shot, and then was like healed and everything, and went to jail for casting illegal magic.
Ah.
So.
Oh, anyway, this was a good game. It was fun. It was all plot basically.
For sure.
So even though it was a little shorter than most of our games have been, it wasn't that much shorter. We did start about 20 minutes late, but that wasn't terrible. But yeah, I mean, we've got a lot done, so that's good. And I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of torn here at the end because I don't want to. Like, I could cast slow on Jade, right? But I feel like it might be misinterpreted to just walk into the house and just cast a spell, knowing how magic is looked on around here. So I'm keeping that in my pocket. I would rather talk than cast a spell, which is hard for Bright because I got to cast the spell, but no.
Yeah, I think the rest of us are trying to wrangle her until her shape change wears off.
It may stick around for a day. It may stick around for a week. It may stick around until Jade decides to end it. I don't know.
Maybe
we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what I do want to do is to stick with the short little interview of, hey, what's in your character's brain, because I hope that it can help you get into character quickly, but also for people who haven't been watching, it's also a good little ramp up. But with the time change that we're going through with lethality, he might have miscalculated the time or something. But if we're going to be having to stop early, that's fine. I'm not upset at him, or I'm like, oh, my game, and flip my desk. It'll just be I as the DM. I'm going to take that into consideration and possibly either rephrase or restructure how, like, the pacing of the game. So instead of offering prompts at a lot of little intersections about what you'd want to do, I'll probably combine some actions and give slightly broader prompts to make sure that we're still moving along at a fairly good clip, while still allowing you the ability to, to impose your character's decisions in the world or on each other, just not in as I don't want to say I'm not micromanaging. At least I hope I'm not. In such a controlled fashion of, okay, you get up. Who's going to breakfast? Who's getting blood? Who's getting all this other stuff? And instead it's just a little bit more,
I wouldn't change a thing, honestly. I think the game is perfect the way it is. I mean, if we had a game that was more focused on let's burn down the plot, we probably would not have been able to play last week's session the way we did. That was a masterwork. So I think that everything is fine just the way it is. I think we just start where, and I don't want to come across like I want to get rid of like the character confessionals, because I think those are great. In fact, I'm thinking about, because whenever like having to do player recaps in the past has always been a big pain, because you always have like one player who doesn't want to do them and another one who doesn't remember, and it's usually more of a muddle. But the way you're doing it, I think, is really effective. So I may actually consider adopting it for my games in the future. It's just, you know, I mean, we didn't get to that, or 11:20 today. So if we can, you know, bump that up so that we start at 9, we won't miss lethality because we've always started about half an hour late. So if we bump that up, and you know, if you know we miss 20-30 minutes off of every session, I think I could live with that in exchange for keeping it the character of the game the way it has been, because it's it's phenomenal.
Keep the pacing.
Okay. All right, then I will.
I wouldn't mind like the table talk and things like that, like leading up to introducing into the game, like because like Fluffy said, we usually get like in character as far as like the recap stuff at about 20 minutes into the stream, and so just kind of like you said, just picking that up a little bit, I guess.
Then I'll take that on myself to give a more abbreviated howdy to everyone, and maybe slip into,
and maybe even for us as players and things like that, we just maybe like hop into everything like 10 minutes early. I'm usually here on time. I'm off today, so I'm like off every Tuesday. I'm like sitting here waiting.
Yeah,
like,
no, and not that I intend on being late, but I would rather you all wait for me than you know, I can certainly manage if one of you is missing. Like lethality wasn't there at the start, but if all of you are there and you're waiting, because I mean I might have a technical difficulty, or I don't know, I could have a weird random power outage or something. Actually, Dark Wolf, you had a random power outage just the other day. So that's fine. It'll just be tightening up our the schedules a little bit more beforehand, and I'm fine with that. This is just an adjustment, and I think this group is capable of handling it. And if you want me to keep the pacing and everything the same, that's fine. We'll just, I mean, we won't get as long a play time, but we'll just go from 4 hours to 3, and I'll still present the story and everything as I have been.
Yeah, and really, I mean, if we can make it so that we're in practice just going from 3.5 to 3, I don't think we'll even miss the extra time.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
and if all of us like hop into Roll20 like 10 minutes early, then all the setup can be done while you're like off camera with the pull-in screen.
Yeah, if it's possible. I mean, because I know Derek kind of, I think he just gets home and then he might just load up his computer or whatever. But yeah, as much as it's possible for you all, then yeah, just go ahead and load it and do that. And this is exactly, for anyone watching out there, this is, I know I have like a cat beard on camera here. This is exactly the type of communication that I hope that your play group has in your own tabletop or virtual tabletop sessions. When you face you know, different either changes or an adversity or some kind of a hardship, or if you lose a player, or I don't know, if just something happens, this kind of communication is very important to have, and I hope that you'll have that in your own settings when you play any role playing game, just not D&D. This is basic 101 role playing.
Fluffy, were you whispering?
What did I do?
You whispered something?
Oh no, I was mumbling to myself. It's my mistake. Sorry.
It's fair.
Casting
usually
a subtle
put myself
spell.
on mute when I'm muttering, but I didn't.
That's okay.
Pneumonica says we've been having discussions about changing our faith game because Steam maintenance happens right as it's beginning. It makes Tabletop Simulator a little challenging. You have a really cool setup for that, by the way, Pneumonica. I like that. Tabletop Simulator seems to be a kind of a cool virtual.
I haven't. I haven't played with like any of the D&D-ish type stuff, but
I've used it like once. Someone